Do I call myself a victim, a survivor, a patient? How it affects my identity? It's such a difficult question. I don't feel comfortable saying I have cancer. I don't like it. It makes me feel like Mary Cancer. I used to say I'm a person that has been diagnosed with cancer, and then it felt a little bit like more distanced.
I am Janet, and I'm a pediatrician, and I am a rock climber, and I am a snowboarder. Oh, and I have breast cancer.
I really, really don't want to be thought of as anything other than I'm a normal person. I'm doing the best I can. I have cancer. It's a huge part of my life now because it's a terminal diagnosis. And it is, it is framing my life, and this is the way it is, but I don't want to be thought of as someone who battled cancer and lost, as if I'm somehow less than someone else or was weaker than the disease. The way I feel, everyone's going to die. This is just the way that, I'm going to go out, is I have cancer and it will likely kill me. I don't feel like I'm battling a war. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when it ultimately kills me, I don't feel like I've lost.
I identify very strongly with being an athlete, and how the cancer has affected my identity in that regard has been a very large struggle for me, in that it wasn't any big deal to get up and run 5 miles. But once you start doing chemotherapy, for me, the longer I do it, the less I'm able to do. Pretty soon I'm compromising on how much I can run, how much I can bike, until I probably can't do anything but go for a walk. I mean, isn't gonna die enough that I shouldn't have to suffer anything else? So to suffer at the level of feeling like, well, no, I can't lead climb, because if I fall, I'm on a medication that thins my blood. And if I whack my head or an elbow or a knee, I will bleed to death. Furthermore, because I have such weak bones, that if I fall and I strike something, I will most likely end up with a fracture. So that's a lot for me to deal with. I think a huge part of my identity is hinged upon planning something and looking forward to it. And I didn't realize just how largely that my personality and my zest for life was dependent upon looking forward to that next thing that I was going to do, whether it was climb El Cap as a rock climbing goal, or get my MD, PhD, or be closer to my friends or family, or whatever it was. I'm going to get to do that. But the assumption behind it was, I'll probably live till I'm 60 or 80. I work really hard. I struggle to come to terms with it. And some moments I feel like I've reached coming to terms with it. So I'm in one of 3 states usually. Denial or acceptance. Okay, they said I have 1 to 5 years to live. The average person lives 22 to 24 months after diagnosis of a terminal diagnosis. I happen to be at 29 months. So I vacillate between 3 states. Denial, or no, I'm really gonna die, and it's gonna be between 1 and 5 years. And me saying, I'm taking one day at a time, and I can be treated, and it can be treated like diabetes, and they can hold it at bay. But if they could hold it at bay, then, or they could cure it, then it would be cured.
Sometimes I think I'm gonna not make it a year, and then sometimes I think I can have a 5-year plan. It was a friend who knew I had cancer and asked something about, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was like, in a pine box. Where do you think I'm gonna be in 5 years? Really? I was like, I have metastatic cancer. Like, 5 years is thinking positively. That's optimistic.
Sometimes I could put the wig on and I can pretend like nothing's wrong with me. Nobody knows anything's wrong, and I can have a blissful hour where I forget that I have cancer.
For some reason, I'm so good. I've learned so well from my son to live in the moment. And it's like when you've got a treatment decision, the cancer stuff is like right there in your face. And when you don't, you kind of, it's there, it's always there, but you don't think about it so much. Well, I find I've gotten so good at like not really worrying about the cancer thing that I kind of just live life as if I don't have this thing hanging over my head. Going to my support group every week, hearing other people talk about it, having people use the word terminal, you've got a terminal illness, it regrounds me. It keeps me from getting so far in denial that I'm not realistic about what I need to do to fight this disease.
I planned our wedding at the same time that I bought my cremation and my ceremony for celebrating the end of my life.
It's okay if I'm negative about this sometimes, because you can't stay positive. It's such a horrible diagnosis. You can't always be up and say, I'm going to be fine, and I have hope, and I know this is, everything's going to be fine in the future, and it's going to get better, because I know it isn't. Now it's really in front of me. It's, I'm going to die soon.
I found with my metastatic diagnosis, my attitude has been that this is for the rest of my life. So there's a part of me that I don't want to, like, for instance, have my husband go with me to every single chemo treatment. I mean, this is what we're going to be doing for the rest of my life. So, I just treat it as it's my normal routine.
I've now been metastatic for 3 years, and I have mets. They pop up and they get removed, and they pop up and they get removed, and I'm feeling I could have 10 years.
Sometimes I like to think of it as it's not a terminal diagnosis, because we're all terminal. It's a coping, like diabetes, that I'll be able to be treated and then I'll get to live. And then I think, is that just some bullshit that somebody made up because they didn't want to deal with the fact that they're probably going to die? Because who out there is living that long?
My friends didn't really understand it, I don't think. They said, oh, well, you're going to beat it. I hang out a lot of that, don't worry, you beat it once, you're going to beat it again, and it's all going to be fine. And they'd say, well, how long is your chemo this time? How long do you have to stay on it? And I'd say, well, forever. It's kind of forever now.
So there's a lot of ways that that pain has been managed by the medical field. The emotional pain is more the pain that I'm dealing with now, and that I have to monitor on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis. For me, it's like a bucket, and it's a bucket of pain that surrounds cancer, and each droplet goes into the bucket. But those droplets are like rain. They don't know they're going into the same bucket. So I have to manage that. Otherwise, I find that I'm resistant to everything. Like, I just want to go, fuck it, I don't want to have any more treatment.